Hey everyone, how are you doing today? I just wanted to come on here and just speak about salvation. Now, I have spoken about this in my very first video that I did, but it needs to be repeated because people are lost. And so that those who have not heard the gospel of their salvation can hear it and believe it. So I will read in Isaiah 10 through 12. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him, he hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. So his body is an offering for sin. And so now in Matthew 27:35. Yeah, 27:35. And they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. And now in verse 60, let's see. Yeah, in verse 60, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed. And now in Matthew chapter 8, or not Matthew chapter 8, but Matthew chapter 28. Let's see. Matthew chapter 28, 6 through 10. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where the Lord lay, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you. And they departed quickly from the sepulchre with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them, saying, All hail! And they came and held him by the feet, and worshipped him. Then said Jesus unto them, Be not afraid. Go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee, and there shall they see me. So, There is the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. In Isaiah, his body is an offering for sin for everyone. It implies it. And in Matthew 27:35, his crucifixion, Christ died for our sins and was buried. In verse 60, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock, and he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre, and departed, was buried, and rose again on the third day. In verse 6, in verse 6, he is not here, for he is risen, as he said, come see the place where the Lord lay. And go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead, and behold, he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you. And rose again the third day. So again, it implies in Isaiah 53 that Christ took our sins. And he was crucified in Matthew 27:35. And he was buried in verse 60. And in Matthew chapter 28, and rose again third day. He rose again. So, those who have not put their full trust on Christ, believe on him today. Believe that Christ died for our sins, according to the scriptures, and he was buried, and he rose again the third day, according to the scriptures. Now, those that I have been told something about Christ died for our sins. In what scriptures? Well, in in Isaiah 53, it implies that Christ took our sins upon him. And in Matthew 27:35, he was crucified. And in verse 60 of chapter 27, he was buried. And in Matthew 28, he rose again the third day. So it implies that in his word, it shows that Christ died for our sins and was buried and rose again the third day. Even it says in Hebrews 10 that he took our sins upon himself. He took it. In verse 12, but this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of God. So Hebrews 10, Isaiah, and Matthew tells about Isaiah, and Matthew implies that Christ died for our sins. He was crucified in Matthew, and he was buried in, I think, Matthew 27, verse 60, was buried, and in Matthew 28, rose again the third day. So believe on him, and thou shalt be saved. And so I think that's it for today. And I hope you all have a blessed day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.